man in the median. The highway between Tonopah and Ely, Nevada is the kind of road most people avoid after midnight. Miles of empty desert stretch in every direction, and the only sound you hear is the wind hitting your car. That's exactly where this story happened. My name is Daniel, and 3 years ago I was driving that highway alone at 1:40 a.m. I had just left Las Vegas after visiting a friend and decided to take the long desert route home. My gas tank was half full, my phone had no signal, and the road ahead looked completely empty. At least, that's what I thought. About 30 minutes into the drive, something strange happened. My GPS suddenly froze. The screen stayed stuck on the same map position even though I had already passed that location miles ago. I tapped the screen, restarted it, but it wouldn't move. At the same moment, the radio began playing nothing but static. Not normal static. It sounded like whispering. I told myself it was just interference from the mountains. But then the temperature inside my car dropped so quickly that I could see my breath. That's when I saw him. About 200 feet ahead, standing directly in the middle median of the highway, was a man. Not walking, not signaling for help, just standing there perfectly still. I slowed down immediately because no one should be standing out here in the middle of nowhere. The headlights illuminated him slowly. He looked like he was wearing dark clothes, maybe a jacket, but something about the way he stood felt wrong. Completely motionless, like a statue. As I got closer, my stomach started twisting with a strange feeling. The man wasn't looking at the road. He was facing the opposite direction, his back toward me. But the moment my car reached about 50 feet from him, his head turned. Slowly. Too slowly. Not like a normal person turning their head. More like something twisting. And when his face came into the light, I realized something that made my hands lock on the steering wheel. His eyes were completely white. No pupils. No color. Just pale white staring directly at me through the windshield. I slammed the accelerator. My car shot forward past him. And as I passed the median, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The man was gone. Completely gone. There was nowhere he could have walked in those 2 seconds. Flat desert. No trees. No buildings. Just empty land. But then the radio suddenly stopped the static, and a voice whispered clearly through the speakers. "Don't stop." My heart was pounding now. I kept driving faster. 80 miles per hour. I didn't care. I just wanted to reach the next town. Then something appeared ahead that made my blood run cold. Another car. Parked sideways across the highway, blocking both lanes. Its headlights were on, but the engine wasn't running. And standing beside that car was the same man from the median. This time he wasn't facing away. He was staring directly at me, and smiling. Not a normal smile. His mouth stretched far too wide, like someone trying to imitate a human expression but doing it wrong. I slammed the brakes and the car skidded to a stop about 30 feet away. The man slowly began walking toward my car, each step unnaturally stiff, like joints bending the wrong direction. And then my radio screamed again. Loud static, followed by the same whisper. "Don't let him reach you." At that moment I did the only thing my brain could think of. I threw the car into reverse. Then I slammed the gas. The tires spun on the asphalt as I shot backward down the highway. The man didn't run. He didn't chase me. He just kept walking forward slowly, still smiling, watching my car disappear into the darkness. I reversed nearly half a mile before turning the car around and speeding the opposite direction. I didn't stop driving until sunrise. But here's the part that still keeps me awake at night. When I reached the next gas station that morning, I asked the clerk if there had been an accident on that highway recently. He looked at me strangely. Then he said something I will never forget. 3 years earlier, a man had died on that exact stretch of road, hit by a car while standing in the highway median at night. The driver said the victim walked in front of the car smiling. And when police arrived, they found something strange in the road. Footprints. Walking away from the body. If you ever find yourself driving that Nevada highway after midnight, and you see a man standing in the median, don't slow down. Don't stop. And whatever you do, don't look into his eyes. Because some drivers say if you do, you'll see him again, waiting farther down the road. The exit that doesn't exist. In the summer of 2019, a truck driver named Marcus shared a story online that many people still argue about today. Marcus had been driving long-haul routes across the western United States for almost 12 years. Night driving never bothered him. Empty highways, long desert roads, and lonely truck stops were just part of the job. But there was one night he said he would never forget. It happened somewhere along Interstate 80, just after 2 a.m. Marcus had been driving for hours through a stretch of highway surrounded by nothing but dark hills and open land. Traffic was almost non-existent. The road stretched endlessly ahead, lit only by the truck's headlights. Marcus was listening to late-night talk radio to stay awake when suddenly the signal began fading. First came static, then silence, then a strange clicking sound through the speakers. He tapped the radio, thinking it was just another dead signal zone. But the clicking slowly turned into something else, almost like someone tapping on glass. Marcus glanced at his GPS. The next truck stop was still 40 miles away. He sighed and leaned back in his seat, settling in for a long quiet drive. That's when he saw the road sign. Green reflective letters flashed in his headlights. Exit 149, service area. Marcus frowned. He had driven this route dozens of times. There had never been an exit here before. At first he assumed the highway department must have built something new. A rest area maybe. Or a gas station. Honestly, he wouldn't have minded a break. So he slowed down and took the exit ramp. The ramp curved downward into darkness. No streetlights. No buildings. Just a narrow road leading into the hills. Marcus immediately noticed something strange. The road felt wrong. Not rough. Not broken. Just strangely smooth. Almost like the pavement was brand new. Too new. And there were no lane markings. No reflectors. Nothing except the faint road disappearing into darkness. After about half a mile, he saw lights ahead. 3 dim yellow lights in the distance. As the truck rolled closer, the lights revealed an old gas station. But it didn't look like any normal gas station. The building was small. The paint was peeling. And the pumps looked ancient, like something from the 1970s. The strangest part, there were no other cars. Marcus parked the truck beside one of the pumps. The engine idled loudly in silence. He stepped out of the cab and stretched his back. The air felt colder than it should have. Almost freezing. And the entire place was completely quiet. No wind. No insects. No sound at all. Then the station door slowly creaked open. An old man stepped out. Thin. Tall. Wearing a faded mechanic's uniform. He stared at Marcus without saying anything. Marcus gave a polite nod. "Evening," he said. The old man didn't respond. He just kept staring. Then slowly asked one question. "Why did you take this exit?" Marcus chuckled nervously. Saw the sign. Thought I'd grab some coffee. The old man's face slowly changed. Not angry. Not surprised. Just concerned. "You shouldn't be here," the man said quietly. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" The old man stepped closer, then said something that made Marcus' stomach drop. "There hasn't been an exit here in 30 years. Marcus laughed nervously again. "Look man, I literally just drove off the interstate." But the old man shook his head slowly. "That road you came from isn't the interstate." Marcus turned and looked behind him. The road he had driven down was now completely dark. No highway lights. No traffic. No sound of passing cars. Just empty darkness stretching into the hills. Marcus suddenly felt a deep sense of panic. He quickly walked back toward his truck. "Thanks, but I think I'll head out." The old man didn't stop him. He just said one last thing. "If you see headlights behind you, don't stop." Marcus climbed into the truck and slammed the door. He turned the truck around and drove back toward the road he came from. But after 2 minutes of driving, the road never reached the highway. Instead it kept going deeper into the hills. Marcus checked his mirrors. That's when he saw something terrifying. Headlights. Behind his truck. Following him. At first he thought it might be another driver. But something felt wrong. The headlights weren't getting closer. They weren't getting farther either. They were staying the exact same distance behind him, perfectly matching his speed. Then the radio suddenly turned on again. Static filled the cab. And through the noise, a whisper spoke. "You weren't supposed to leave." Marcus slammed the accelerator. The truck roared down the dark road. But the headlights stayed behind him. Unmoving. Unchanging. Just watching. Then suddenly the road curved upward. And Marcus saw something ahead. The interstate. Bright lights. Moving traffic. He shot up the ramp and merged onto the highway without even slowing down. Marcus immediately checked his mirrors. The road behind him was empty. No headlights. No exit ramp. Nothing. He kept driving for another 20 miles before pulling over at a real truck stop. Still shaking, he asked another driver if they knew anything about exit 149. The driver looked confused, then said something strange. There is no exit 149 on this highway. But the strangest part happened later that night. Marcus checked his dash camera footage. He wanted to prove the exit existed. But when he played the video, the truck never left the interstate. There was no exit, no ramp, no gas station. For the entire time he thought he was off the highway, the truck was still driving straight down the interstate. Marcus never drove that route again. But a few months later, another truck driver posted something online. A photo taken at night on Interstate 80. It showed a highway sign glowing in headlights. The sign read, Exit 149, Service Area. And beneath the sign, someone had spray painted 3 words, Don't take it. The highway that repeats itself. In 2021, a college student named Ryan shared a story online that quickly spread across several horror forums. Ryan had been driving back to Arizona from California after visiting friends for the weekend. It was supposed to be a normal 5-hour drive, but somewhere along a quiet stretch of desert highway, something happened that Ryan still can't explain. And according to him, he never reached the end of that road the same way again. It was around 12:30 a.m. when Ryan entered a long stretch of highway surrounded by nothing but desert. No towns. No gas stations. Just straight road disappearing into darkness. His GPS estimated 3 hours remaining. Ryan turned up the music and settled into the drive. Everything felt completely normal. Until he passed the first mile marker. Mile 180. He barely noticed it at the time. Just another roadside sign flashing past his headlights. About 10 minutes later, Ryan passed another mile marker. But this time something caught his attention. The sign read, Mile 180. Again. Ryan frowned slightly. Maybe he misread the first one. Maybe the highway numbers were different here. So he ignored it and kept driving. But 5 minutes later, he saw it again. Mile 180. Ryan slowed down. That shouldn't be possible. Mile markers increase as you drive forward. They don't repeat. He pulled out his phone and checked his GPS. According to the map, he had traveled nearly 20 miles already. But the mile marker outside said otherwise. He continued driving. And within another few minutes, he passed mile 180 again. Now Ryan felt uneasy. He turned down the music and focused on the road. The desert around him looked exactly the same. The same empty hills. The same long straight road. The same silence. Then something new appeared near the mile marker. A car, parked on the shoulder. Ryan slowed down as he approached. The car looked abandoned. Its headlights were off. Driver's door slightly open. No one inside. Ryan drove past it carefully. Then he checked the mirror. The car disappeared quickly behind him. But just a few minutes later, another mile marker appeared. Mile 180. Ryan felt a wave of panic. That car should have been miles behind him. But as he passed the sign, he saw the exact same car again. Parked on the shoulder. Driver's door open. Exactly the same position. Exactly the same place. Like the road had reset itself. Ryan stepped harder on the gas. The engine roared as he accelerated down the highway. He drove for another 15 minutes straight. No turns. No stops. Just endless road. And then it appeared again. Mile 180. But this time, the car door was fully open. Ryan felt his chest tighten. Someone had moved that door. But there was still no one around. He kept driving, his hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. 10 minutes later, the sign appeared again. Mile 180. But now something new stood beside the car. A person. Ryan slowed slightly as he passed. The figure stood perfectly still, facing the road. Ryan couldn't see their face. Just a tall shadow under the dim moonlight. He drove past quickly and checked the mirror. The figure hadn't moved. Still standing beside the car, watching him leave. Ryan pressed the gas harder. His GPS still showed progress, but the road felt wrong now. Like he wasn't actually moving forward, 5 minutes later, the sign appeared again. Mile 180. Ryan's heart nearly stopped, because this time, the figure was standing in the middle of the road. Ryan slammed the brakes. The car skidded slightly as he stopped about 30 feet away. The figure didn't move. It just stood there silently. Then, slowly, its head turned toward Ryan's car. Ryan couldn't see the face clearly, but he knew something about it wasn't human. Ryan immediately threw the car into reverse. He backed up quickly down the highway. The figure never moved. It just stood there watching. Ryan reversed for nearly a minute before turning the car around. Then he sped in the opposite direction, as fast as the car could go. 10 minutes passed. No mile marker. No abandoned car. Ryan finally started breathing again. Maybe he had escaped that strange loop. Then headlights appeared ahead. A highway patrol car, parked beside the road. Relief washed over him. Ryan pulled over and explained everything. The officer listened carefully, then asked one simple question. "Did you see mile 180? Ryan nodded. The officer's expression changed. Then he said something that Ryan will never forget. "You're the third driver this month." Ryan stared at him in confusion. "What do you mean?" The officer sighed and pointed down the road. "Every few years someone reports the same thing. Drivers say the road keeps repeating. Same mile marker. Same abandoned car." Ryan felt cold again. "Has anyone ever stopped there?" The officer nodded slowly. "Yes." Ryan hesitated. "What happened to them?" The officer looked toward the dark road, then quietly answered, "They never came back." Ryan left immediately after that. He drove the rest of the night without stopping, and eventually reached the next city safely. But months later, while reviewing old dashcam footage, Ryan noticed something chilling. Every time the car passed mile 180, the figure beside the road was getting closer, closer to the lane, closer to the car, and in the final loop, right before Ryan turned around, the figure was no longer standing by the abandoned car. It was standing directly behind Ryan's vehicle, right outside the driver's door. Ryan says he never heard anything, never saw anyone outside the car, but sometimes late at night, when he checks his rearview mirror while driving, he feels like someone is sitting in the backseat, waiting for the road to repeat again. Ryan tried to forget about the night on that highway. For a few weeks, everything seemed normal again. He drove to college, went to work, and avoided night drives whenever possible. But the strange feeling never completely disappeared. Sometimes when he looked at road signs while driving, he felt a sudden wave of anxiety, like the numbers might repeat again, like the road might loop. And one night, it almost did. It happened about a month later. Ryan was driving home late after visiting a friend. The road was quiet, just like that night in the desert. He checked his mirrors out of habit. Nothing behind him. He looked forward again, and then he noticed something that made his stomach tighten. A roadside sign ahead. The sign read, "Mile 180. Ryan immediately slammed the brake slightly. That wasn't possible. He wasn't anywhere near that highway anymore. He grabbed his phone and opened the GPS. The map clearly showed a completely different road, hundreds of miles away from the desert highway. Yet the sign standing beside the road still read the same number. Ryan drove past the sign slowly, his heart pounding. For a moment nothing happened. No abandoned car. No shadow figure. Just empty road. Ryan breathed out slowly. Maybe someone had just reused an old sign. Maybe it meant nothing. Then his headlights revealed something farther down the shoulder. A car. Ryan's hands tightened on the wheel. The car looked old. The same color. The same shape. And as he drove closer, he saw the driver's door hanging open, exactly like the car from the highway loop. Ryan whispered to himself, "No, no way." He drove past it quickly, and immediately checked the rearview mirror. The car was gone. The shoulder behind him was completely empty. No vehicle. No open door. Nothing. Ryan's breathing became shallow. Then the radio suddenly turned on. Static filled the speakers. The same harsh crackling sound from that desert highway. Ryan slowly reached for the volume knob. But before he touched it, a voice spoke through the noise. Soft, cold, and very close. "You turned around." Ryan froze. His eyes slowly lifted to the rearview mirror. For a moment the back seat looked empty. Then something shifted in the reflection. A shape sitting quietly in the darkness. Too tall to be a normal passenger. Its head slowly tilted toward the mirror. Ryan could see pale skin. And two faint white eyes. Ryan screamed and swerved the car slightly. When he looked back again, the seat was empty. Completely empty. The radio shut off instantly. Silence returned to the car. Ryan drove the rest of the way home without stopping once. The next morning, Ryan decided to check the dashcam again. He wanted to prove what he had seen. The footage started normally. Just a quiet night drive. Then the mile marker sign appeared on camera. Mile 180. Ryan leaned closer to the screen. Because this time, something else appeared in the video. As the car passed the sign, the camera briefly captured the roadside. And standing beside the mile marker was the same tall figure from the desert highway. Watching the car drive past, Ryan paused the video and zoomed in. The figure's face became slightly clearer, and what he saw made his blood run cold. The figure wasn't looking at the road. It wasn't watching the car leave. It was staring directly into the camera, and its mouth was stretched into that same unnatural smile. But the worst part was what happened in the final frame. Right before the car disappeared down the road, the figure was no longer standing beside the sign. It was standing in the middle of the lane, right behind Ryan's car. Ryan shut the laptop immediately. He never watched the footage again. He sold that car 2 weeks later, and he refuses to drive on long highways at night. But sometimes when he's a passenger in someone else's car, he notices something strange. Every once in a while, a roadside sign passes in the darkness, and for just a split second, it reads the same number, mile 180. Ryan says he always looks away quickly now, because he's afraid that one night, he'll look back at the mirror and see the road repeating again, with someone waiting on the shoulder, smiling, and this time, standing beside his door. Before you leave, I want to ask you something. If you were driving alone at night and suddenly saw mile 180 appear again on the road, would you keep driving? Or would you stop? Tell me honestly in the comments. And if you enjoy real terrifying stories like these, make sure you like the video and subscribe, because the next story I'm uploading is even more disturbing. Trust me, you won't want to hear it alone at night.